My name is Maya Collins. I'm 35 years old, and 3 months ago, my mother casually handed over the $5.2 million company I built with my own hands over 12 years to my older sister, like she was passing across a wrapped present. We were sitting in an upscale Italian restaurant in downtown Denver. Candlelight, soft music, the kind of place people go to celebrate wins. My mom slid a thick folder across the table, smiled gently and said, "We've made a decision. Olivia will be taking over the business. It just makes sense. She has children. She needs security." Before I could even process what she'd said, my father leaned forward and added, "You'll stay on and report to her. She deserves it more. She has kids." I remember my fork clinking too loudly against the plate. A couple nearby glanced over. My sister, Olivia, pressed her lips together, trying and failing to hide her satisfaction. I didn't cry. I didn't argue. I laughed once, short and disbelieving, nodded like I'd just agreed to a routine meeting, pushed my chair back, and walked out without touching the dessert I'd ordered. 12 years of sleepless nights, client pitches, payroll stress, contracts, growth. Reduced to one sentence: you'll work under her. On paper, the company had always been in my mother's name. She had the credit, the banking connections. She told me it was temporary, just paperwork. I trusted her. I thought effort and loyalty were enough to protect me. They weren't. For weeks, my family assumed I'd cool off, that I'd come back quietly and keep their machine running under new rules. Instead, I vanished and started making moves they never saw coming. 3 months later, they were calling me, panicked, asking me to come back and fix what they'd broken. But to understand how it reached that point, you need to know where this all began. Growing up, I was always the capable one, which was just a polite way of saying I was expected to handle things alone. We lived outside Denver in a quiet suburban neighborhood, tree-lined streets, kids on bikes, sprinklers ticking in the evenings. My mom, Margaret, worked in banking. My dad, Robert, was a civil engineer who brought blueprints to the dinner table. My sister, Olivia, was 5 years older and the favorite from day one. Straight A's, leadership roles, teachers adored her. If she forgot her lunch, Mom drove it to school. If I forgot mine, I was told I'd survive. Olivia got new clothes, I got hand-me-downs. She got encouragement, I got reminders to be low maintenance. As adults, the gap only widened. When Olivia moved to Chicago for her corporate HR career, Mom flew out to help her settle in. She wired money for a condo down payment, paid for Olivia's MBA for the kids' future. When I asked about help with my own education, Mom barely looked up from the bills. "You'll figure it out. You're resourceful." So I did. Scholarships, part-time jobs, late-night shifts, studying in 15-minute breaks while pretending I wasn't exhausted. When Olivia got pregnant and complications followed, she became more than the favorite. She became untouchable. I remember being home from college buried in finals when Mom got a call about Olivia's blood pressure spiking. Within an hour, she was packing a suitcase and rushing to the airport. She hugged me quickly and said, "You'll be okay, right? Your sister needs me." From that moment on, every decision in our family revolved around one question: but what about Olivia and the kids? I stopped asking my mother to show up for my milestones. Instead, I poured everything into my work. I taught myself design, branding, and storytelling, nights on YouTube tutorials, free online courses, websites built on a battered laptop, flyers, logos, social posts, anything that let me practice. And somewhere along the way, I made myself a promise. If no one in my family was going to bet on me, I would. After college, while my friends chased corporate jobs, I sat in a noisy Denver co-working space with a secondhand laptop and a notebook full of ideas. That's where Northwave Digital was born. At first, it was just me, scrappy branding projects for coffee shops, yoga studios, and small real estate firms. I charged too little, worked too much, and said yes to everything. When I tried to open proper business accounts, the bank shut me down. That's when my mom stepped in. She said, "Let me help.
I'll set up the LLC in my name and you'll get better credit access. It's just paperwork. I believed her. I signed where she highlighted, initialed where she pointed. On paper, Northwave belonged to her. In reality, it ran on my blood and burnout. Over the years, the company grew. I found a niche helping clean tech and climate startups tell their stories. I hired employees, signed bigger contracts, built a real office. By year 12, Northwave was pulling in $5.2 million annually and supporting 30 families. My mom loved reminding me, "Good thing my name's on the documents. Banks like that." I laughed along. I thought we were a team. I was wrong. When my parents divorced, everything changed. Lawyers got involved, assets were listed, and suddenly Northwave was no longer my company. It was my mother's investment. Then she met Daniel, a real estate developer with big ideas and bigger leverage. I overheard calls about loans, collateral, and asset bundling. Northwave's name was mentioned more than once. That knot in my stomach never went away. The dinner where it all exploded was supposed to be harmless. Instead, it was an ambush. My mother announced Olivia would take control of Northwave. She had an MBA, she had kids, she deserved stability. I would stay on as an executive, reporting to her. My father sealed it with the words that flattened my life's work into nothing. "You'll be fine. You're flexible. She has kids." That's when I walked out. The next morning I resigned. Short email, polite tone, immediate effect. Within a week, I founded Aurora Studio, this time under my name alone, with a lawyer, with protections, with no hidden strengths. I called clients, told them the truth, professionally. 70% followed me. Key team members followed too. Aurora started small, folding chairs, cheap coffee, big energy. Meanwhile, Northwave began to crumble. Olivia didn't understand the work. Clients noticed. Revenue dipped. Loans tied to Daniel's deals tightened. 3 months after that dinner, my phone rang. They wanted me back, under Olivia, to fix everything. I said no. 18 months later, Northwave was sold for scraps. Debts swallowed the proceeds. Daniel disappeared. My mother downsized. My sister lost her house. 2 years after walking out, I stood on a stage in Austin, introducing Aurora Studio, now a $15 million company with 45 employees. Someone called me the woman who rebuilt everything. They were right.
Walking out of that restaurant felt unreal, like I'd stepped out of my own life and left it playing behind me. The city lights blurred as I drove, my phone buzzing non-stop on the passenger seat. I didn't answer a single message. That night, I didn't cry. I did math. I opened my laptop, pulled up my accounts, and looked at the numbers calmly, like this was just another business decision. Between savings, bonuses, and a few smart investments I'd quietly made over the years, I had around $450,000. No kids, no mortgage, a paid-off car. And more importantly, I had the knowledge. If my family wanted the shell of the company so badly, they could keep it. I would take the part that actually mattered. The morning everything changed. The next morning, I walked into the Northwave office like nothing had happened. The team was already moving, phones ringing, Slack messages flying, someone laughing near the break room. My sister sat in a glass conference room with my mother, staring at spreadsheets she clearly didn't understand. I said nothing. At noon, I sent my resignation email. It was clean, professional, final. Effective immediately, I am stepping down from my role at Northwave Digital. I have attached documentation to ensure a smooth transition for all active projects. No accusations, no emotion, just closure. Then I went home, sat at my kitchen table, and started building again. Aurora Studio is born. Within a week, Aurora Studio existed, this time fully mine. I hired a business attorney who specialized in founders burned by family help. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "We'll make sure no one ever takes your work from you again."
We set everything up properly. Ownership, voting rights, banking, contracts. No shortcuts, no trust-based assumptions. I rented a small office in a shared building near the Denver Tech Center. It wasn't glamorous, white walls, big windows, second-hand desks. But when I unlocked the door for the first time, it felt like oxygen. For the first week, it was just me, a folding chair, and a borrowed coffee maker. And peace. Then came the hardest part, calling clients. Not to vent, not to complain, just the truth. There's been a change in ownership at Northwave. I've started a new agency. If you'd like to continue working together, I'd love that, but the decision is yours. I didn't pressure anyone. I didn't need to. One by one, clients said the same thing. We didn't hire your mother. We didn't hire your sister. We hired you. Within 6 weeks, 70% of my clients followed me. Then my phone buzzed with a message that nearly knocked the breath out of me. It was Evan, Northwave's head of strategy. If you're okay with it, I'd like to come work with you. 2 more followed soon after, a senior video producer and a performance marketer who practically spoke in analytics. We took pay cuts. We worked long hours. We sat on folding chairs. But the energy in that room was electric. While Aurora grew quietly, Northwave started to unravel. At first, I only heard whispers. Clients confused by shifting timelines, staff pulled into pointless meetings, decisions made without strategy, just authority. My sister wanted to prove she was in charge. She cut research time, rushed launches, delegated complex decisions to junior staff. Clients noticed. One longtime account called me late one afternoon, not to hire me, just to vent. "Something's wrong over there," he said. "They talk about efficiency, but there's no vision. It feels empty." I listened. I said nothing. 2 weeks later, he moved his contract to Aurora. The debt no one told me about. Then the real problem surfaced. The real estate deal my stepfather, Daniel, had pushed through was far riskier than my mother admitted. Northwave had been used as collateral. When revenue dipped, the bank panicked. 3 months after the restaurant dinner, my phone rang. It was my mother. "Maya, we need to talk." She asked me to meet them, my parents and Olivia, at a small cafe near my office. I already knew what they wanted. The begging stage. They looked exhausted. My mother avoided my eyes. My father fidgeted with his glasses. My sister's confidence was gone. "You've put us in a difficult position," Olivia said sharply. "Clients are leaving. Staff are following you. It's not fair." I met her stare. "I chose not to. I didn't force anyone." My mother jumped in. "The bank is pressuring us. We need you back. If you return as COO under Olivia, we can fix this." There it was again. Under her. My father nodded. "You have to think about the family. Your sister has kids." I asked questions. Numbers, debt, loan terms. The more they talked, the clearer it became. Northwave wasn't struggling, it was sinking. Then Olivia blurted, desperate, "You could buy it. We'd transfer control back, fix it, sell it later. Everyone wins." For a moment, I considered it. Then I saw the truth. The debt, the manipulation, the same people who already proved they'd sacrifice me once. "No," I said calmly. "I'm not coming back, and I'm not saving something that broke the moment you decided I didn't deserve it." I stood up, left cash on the table, and walked out.
After that cafe meeting, I didn't hear from my family for a while. And honestly, that silence felt like relief. I poured everything into Aurora Studio. Long days, long nights, real work, done on my terms, with people who actually respected what I built. Our little office started to feel too small. Folding chairs turned into real desks, Whiteboards filled up with ideas instead of excuses. Contracts started coming in faster than we expected. Then something unexpected happened. The story goes public. A friend of mine ran a small online summit for startup founders. She asked if I'd join a live session about burnout, boundaries, and ownership. I hesitated. I wasn't interested in dragging my family publicly, so I didn't. I told the story without names, without drama. I talked about building a company I never legally owned, about trusting family instead of contracts, about walking away with nothing but experience and rebuilding from scratch. Someone clipped a 10-minute segment and uploaded it to LinkedIn and YouTube with the title, "She Built a $5 million company she didn't own." It exploded. Thousands of comments, founders tagging each other, people sharing their own horror stories, lawyers breaking down the red flags I ignored. My inbox filled with messages. I needed to hear this. This is my worst fear. We want to work with someone who understands this. One of those messages came from a CMO at a national clean energy company. That single message turned into our largest contract yet. Meanwhile, Northwave collapses. While Aurora surged forward, Northwave unraveled quietly and painfully. Clients left, staff morale collapsed, leadership meetings turned into blame sessions. The bank tightened the noose. The real estate deal tied to Daniel's project failed hard. Loans defaulted. Collateral was seized. Northwave, once a thriving agency, was suddenly just another asset in a desperate fire sale. 18 months after that Italian restaurant dinner, it was gone. Sold to a larger agency for a fraction of its former value. The money barely covered the debt. Daniel disappeared the moment there was nothing left to leverage. My mother sold her house and moved into a small apartment. My father picked up freelance consulting work in his 60s. Olivia and her family lost the suburban home they stretched too far to afford. She reached out to me once, asked if Aurora Studio needed help with HR. I declined politely. My team deserved better than inherited dysfunction. The moment I didn't expect. 2 years after walking out, I stood on a stage in Austin at a tech conference. Behind me, the Aurora Studio logo glowed on a massive screen. 45 employees, clients across the country, annual revenue just over $15 million. Someone introduced me as the founder who rebuilt everything from zero. And for the first time, I realized something important. They were wrong. I hadn't rebuilt from zero. I rebuilt from experience and self-respect. A quiet goodbye. A few months later, I ran into my mother at a grocery store back in Denver. No confrontation, no tears, just small talk in the produce aisle. She apologized, not fully, not clearly, but enough to acknowledge the damage. I felt the old instinct rise up, the urge to fix things. Instead, I let it pass. A week later, I dropped off an old laptop at her apartment, the same model she'd once helped me buy when I was starting out. I'd wiped it clean. Inside, I left a note. "Thank you for the beginning. I'll take it from here." It wasn't revenge, it was closure. The real lesson. What happened to my family wasn't karma or fate, it was consequence. You can't treat people like tools and expect loyalty. You can't confuse convenience with fairness. And you can't steal someone's work and expect them to save you later. Walking away wasn't weakness. It was the first decision I ever made that was fully mine. So, if you're reading this and you've been told to accept less because someone else's life is more important, remember this. You are the asset, not the company, not the paperwork, not the approval. And sometimes, choosing yourself is the only way to win.